Alrighty. Greetings, everybody, and welcome to the September 10th, 2025 Operations Finance Committee meeting. Pursuant to Board Policy 1B.5, all meetings of Salisbury Township School District are audio and video recorded. May I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Gaithier. Mrs. Glenister.
Here.
Mr. Ganal.
Here.
Mr. Hoffman.
Here.
Mrs. Klinger. Mrs. McKelvey.
Here.
Mrs. Nemitz.
Here.
Mr. Ickabani.
Here.
Mr. Spinner.
Present.
We have quorum.
All right. I know it's not on the agenda, but can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All righty. And I do want to apologize for my attire tonight. I just came from football practice, so I didn't have time to change. I do apologize for that. With that, we'll roll right into citizen comments. Do we have any citizen comments this evening? Okay. Having none, we'll roll right into the first part of the evening, Operations Committee. Mr. Spinner.
All right. Thank you, Joe. Tonight for the Operations Committee, we have 4 agenda items. First on the list, item 2.1 is going to be the Master Facilities Plan update from both Bill and CHA. We'll follow up then with the update on the concrete asphalt. Act 1 index is 2.3. And then we'll finish up with the election for PSBA governing board for the candidates that we're expecting to put on the docket for next week. So with that, Bill, I'll kind of open up to you and CHA to get us rolling on the latest update.
Good evening. As is normal for September's meeting, we bring the updated MFP. So typically the process is we're working through summer projects and working with our group, CHA, to start looking at these projects are coming off the list, what's coming forward, what's in our next 5-year plan. So as a 5-year plan moves forward, a new year pops up, what's going into what is now 2030. You'll see that coming up soon. But I'd like to introduce Bill Nesswender with CHA and Matt Florence to my far left. And they will take you through the updated master facilities plan.
Awesome. I'm not used to using a microphone, so we'll give this a whirl. First, I'd like to just say a quick thank you to the Salisbury Township School District, the board, and everyone for allowing us to present tonight. Like Bill said, this is our new master facility plan for 2025, just an update on what's going on. So I know pretty much all of you have seen this plan before, but this is a district-wide plan to identify facility infrastructures and system repairs required for upkeep, establish priorities, reflect current conditions, and also it's a working document that we update yearly, and with Bill's help, we make this a pretty smooth process. Just a quick review from last year. Select projects from the 2024 master plan have been completed during the summer of 2025. The 2025 facility summary for 2026 and beyond, a summary of major construction and renovation projects that we see coming in the near future, how we invest in our facility projects, and we also have a draft 5-year plan prioritized by facility. Now we get through the preface here. Overall, we've toured your facilities. Probably none of you have really met me before. So this is my first year with Salisbury Township. I have worked on designs throughout the years with Chris Haller and Andrew Mather. So I am pretty familiar with your buildings. I've done some of your roofs. I've done some of your other capital projects in-house. So overall, your facilities are in really good condition. And that's just a shout out to how you guys take care of your facilities and the money you do spend on keeping them up to date. So we're looking for preservation and upkeep required, and we have many projects on the horizon require funding strategies, and when we get into it, you'll see it's majorly the high school HVAC systems. So how do we come up with our numbers? Master's facility planning, we have recommended guidelines and cost allocations. So we use the APPA and the NCES. And what they tell us is a life cycle renewal should be anywhere from 1.5% to 2.5% of your current building values. So we look at it as, like when you see some of our tabs, we'll have a renovation value for a building. So we look at that value, we take 1.5 to 2.5%, and that's how we come up with a number that we think we should be allocating each season for capital improvement, master facility planning improvements. So when we look at your district, per the APPA, we have a little over 435,000 square feet of buildings. Next slide, please. Nope. At $325 a square foot. And we look at the low end because we know a lot of districts aren't going to spend the high end. They're not going to go all the way to the 2.5. So at 1.5%, you would be looking at a little bit over $2 million that should be invested annually to keep your buildings in good condition. We know budgets are budgets, and we can't always keep up with that, but that's just a guideline that we look at that you should follow and try to keep up with. So logic matrix, is everybody familiar how we come up with our logic matrix? You know, we look at safety, curricular value, educational impact, number of people it's going to affect, physical condition, domino effect, community impact, life cycle, energy sustainability, and also life expectancy. Does anybody have any questions on how we use those, or are we all good? So
Actually, I had one follow-up question, Bill, that this goes back, and I remember at one point we were trying to define some more of the terms there from the header, from the safety and whatnot. Did we ever get to that, where we were identifying?
I thought we presented that with CHA. I thought that was part of last year's meeting. I can go back and take a look. I know that our reef came out, and I believe did define it a little bit better. I'll have to go back and look to verify, though.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, I was it just popped in my head, and I figured I'd ask. Sorry, guys, go ahead.
Nope, that's perfectly fine. Then we just had a little snippet. It's just a little piece from the high school. So, you know, you can see our logic matrix and how we come up with a priority for each project. And next slide, projects bid. So project bid with CHA from 2020 to 2025. We have quite the list. Oop, I think we got to go back one. Yep, there you go. So just this past summer, we did do the elementary school library reconfiguration, and we also did the middle school fire alarms. As you can see from the numbers, we did save approximately $33,000 from what the actual contracts came in at, which is good news for the district. It's pretty amazing when we get credits back on a project. And, you know, you look at over our history, you know, except for the cafeteria ramp, which I believe we hit some unforeseen stormwater issues there, all of the projects pretty much came back with a refund to the owner. Facility projects completed in-house. I mean, over the last 3 years, you guys have done $8 million worth of work on your own, which is great. I don't know, Bill, if you want to add anything about what was done in-house?
Obviously, we've used a couple of a different engineering group for ESSA projects, guaranteed energy saving projects with McClure. So they've done a few projects for us within, especially 2023, the middle school HVAC conversion. And whenever we can save money and use co-stars or state contract, Keystone Purchasing Network, then we can do projects like gym bleacher replacement, painting of various rooms. These are just really projects that we don't need to build bid specs and send them out to bid. We can pick contractors that are on these purchasing contracts and do everything above board and legal, and ultimately save a little bit of money in the long run.
Yeah, it's an awesome way for districts to actually save some money, is using those purchasing agents. Sometimes we work hand in hand with the purchasing agents. Sometimes it's just a simple like RFP you send out. Next, so a couple of little successes over our summer. This is the library at the elementary school. We did come down to the wire with the doors out to the hallway. Those were special order doors, but I think we pretty much got all the occupants in on time, which was great. Had a little issue with some lighting, but we solved that, and I think it came out really nice. Next one, as glamorous as we can make a fire alarm system look. This is what we got. You did get a whole new head end. It is all up to current codes, new annunciator panels at your main entrances, new devices throughout the building, and obviously the head end unit, which is very important. And that went through flawlessly, pretty much. I know we had a couple concerns at the beginning because it starts slow. It starts very slow. It's hard to see wire going through your building, but once they started getting devices up and started testing, that's when we knew we were on track and we knew we were going to get it done on time. Next slide, I'm sure you guys are familiar with. So when we do our master facility planning, we look at the value of each one of your buildings, and this is where the $325 per square foot for renovation comes from. We look at the improvements that are needed in the building compared to what the renovation value is. So you can see a couple of those are shaded yellow. The one at the bottom for athletic facilities, it's not applicable for athletics really, it's more for buildings. But once we hit the 60% mark is when we start getting concerned. Because once you hit that 60% mark, you're kind of looking at, should I really be trying to renovate this now, or should I replace it now, or should I continue on with doing like capital improvements projects? And so when you hit that 60% mark, it really makes you put your thinking cap on. And you should either consider full renovations or replacement of the building. As you can see, your buildings are in pretty good shape. Admin needs a little bit of work, but I think that's HVAC that's driving that cost up, and typically it does. Western Elementary, I guess that's a big discussion that's going on in the district on the usefulness and if it should remain or be removed. But otherwise, the buildings are in pretty good shape. You can see the high school's only at 33%. That's a fantastic number. I mean, very rarely do I see anything under 30%. So that's really good. It just goes to show your efforts are working. So your money is definitely paying for itself. Next slide. So our proposed 5-year plan. You can see we have a bunch of projects lined up for 2026, but we'd like to get lined up for 2026. Mostly paving, exterior repairs, some door replacements, just to keep your investments in a good place. I know it's not glamorous to say paving repairs, but if you don't take care of paving, that's one of those things that can go wild on you. Like I can go from $2 a square foot up to $25 a square foot in a couple of years. If I'm looking at seal coating and line striping, that's pretty inexpensive. But when I look at full depth replacement, then I'm going to spend a huge chunk of change. And that's why we went over this with Mr. Brackett, and we came up with a strategy on how we think they should be done. So most of those are pretty much exterior work, sidewalks, bollards, stuff like that in front of the schools for safety, and resurfacing and restriping a lot of the parking lots throughout the district. 2027, we're kind of looking at...
Before you go on to 2027, quick question for you. Yep. Where's door number 4?
Door number 4 is the boys' locker room exit out towards the stadium.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's the door right there in the back corner.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a bank of 4 doors.
Yeah. What's wrong with it?
The center mullions are rusting out. They're an H door. They're all steel, so that when the sun comes up, those doors swell. They don't always necessarily shut correctly, so it's a set of doors we're constantly on top of, adjusting door hardware and whatnot to make sure that they do close properly. They're tired.
Oh, fair enough. When you look at them, they just don't obviously look like...
They don't.
No.
Yeah.
But if a door doesn't shut, is it really a door? I mean...
Does that become a window?
I'm trying to say, like, if it doesn't shut, we need to be replaced.
Yeah.
It didn't mean, I honestly didn't mean to come across that way.
Really a door.
You were correct. This meeting does get more entertaining as we go. No, feel free. So yeah, in 2027, we're kind of looking at the high school chiller. Also doing some improvements over at the middle school athletic fields. I think we have some water problems there. We retain water. We'd like to get it drained. So, athletic fields, it comes in at a pretty large number, but it is a lot of earthwork. It's a lot of accessories that go with that. And we were also going to look at under drainage for the varsity softball field. 2028.
But before you go to 2028, so can we get a little more about the athletic field, so exactly what it is that you're
Absolutely.
looking?
Yeah. So any grass athletic field, in reality, should be turned over, seeded or resodded every 5 to 6 years. It should be turned over, especially when they are in a high-use situation like the middle school athletic fields are. Obviously, we're well past that 5 or 6 year. Obviously, since we are landlocked, trying to schedule every 5 or 6 year is really not, can't be done within the school district because of how limited we are in space. But we're at the point now where the fields are becoming compact. Grass can't grow on concrete. Sporting, soccer especially, field hockey's not as bad because it doesn't get abused as much as soccer, and soccer is constantly in use. Spring, summer, fall, it just doesn't stop. So it's becoming a situation where I have to start looking at the overall safety of an athletic field, and do we want to continue to put athletes on there? We're not at that point, but if we don't start looking at this and addressing it, we could be. So ultimately, what we're looking to do is including everything that's grass in the behind the middle school, everything that's grass, we would completely turn it over, soften up that soil, regrade that soil. We have some spots that need to be leveled out, or do a pitch to it so we have better drainage. After you turn it over, you have a problem. If you seed that turned over soil, you're off that ground for 18 to 24 months. Can't get on it. Got to make sure that grass seed has set, that root system runs deep. So you're off that field for 18 to 24 months. If you spend the extra money, and it is considerably extra money, if you spend the extra money and put sod, you can be back on that field within 4 to 6 months. So likely what I'm saying is if we turn that field over in springtime, we take one season off of that grass, middle school soccer season, we turned it over in springtime, it's likely we'll have a good, solid, safe field for fall, that particular year that we do the project. It is considerably more costly, but it's the only way to cut the time down. The other parts of that middle school, what we call the middle school softball field. So this is the one that's way out back in the far corner. Everything drains to that corner, and it's difficult to get on there in the springtime and to prep that field for use because it stays so wet. I'm proposing we take that middle school softball field and move it up to where the 90-foot baseball field used to be. And if you look at Google Maps, you can see the earth view of Google Maps. You can see that imprint of the 90-foot field. It's right beside it, basically, yeah. Out in left field of it. That field has always drained very, very well, naturally because of the lay of the land and the lay of the ground. So I'm proposing we take the 60-foot softball field, move it up to that 90-foot field that hasn't been used since I've been here, but once in 2007, 2008 was the last time it was actually used. So move it up there. You're going to get a better softball field, one that we can manage a lot better. And that backside, we would leave grass as a potential practice area. And the other part would be the varsity softball field behind Western Elementary. I would like to install underground drainage on the infield. The outfield drains amazingly well. As soon as the rain is done, you can almost get on that field and play. But it's the infield that holds all of that moisture. We've got to give it a place to go and get it off the field. We can get on that field a lot sooner.
So Bill, the price that's here, does that include sod, or is that?
Sod.
Okay, thank you.
So let me ask this. I know, so right now there's 2 baseball fields at the very back of that middle school complex?
There's one baseball, there's one area back there big enough for baseball, 90-foot field, and then in the very far corner is a 60-foot softball field.
Okay, so those are used pretty heavily by SYA. Are they still used pretty heavily by SYA?
SYA typically uses only our varsity softball field for their practice and their games. The middle school softball field, middle school softball plays at the same time, practices at the same time as the varsity team does, so we need that second field so middle school softball field can be out there immediately following school like the high school girls.
'Cause I know, so right now there's 2 baseball fields at the very back of that middle school complex. Is that?
There's one baseball, there's one area back there big enough for baseball, 90-foot field, and then in the very far corner is a 60-foot softball field.
Okay,
Certain organizations have requested to use that far lower field for tournament purposes and whatnot. We haven't always been allowed to let them because of the conditions of the field at times.
Okay, because I know when my kids were small and playing baseball, those fields were used a lot. And so I was going to ask about the possibility of us putting like walkway back there, because as someone who used to take her newborn daughter in a stroller to baseball practice, it was like, over the grass. But if it's not being used as heavily anymore by sort of the younger kids, then maybe that's not.
Yeah,
Actually-
they've restricted their use to the varsity softball field.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a question which may be very stupid? Okay, so I'm going to preface it.
I love it.
Who owns the property next to the middle school? On, in between that and like the yard waste site?
The church.
How difficult would it be to potentially, if church to like a rental agreement or something, to turn that into a temporary soccer field while we're messing around with our regular one?
It would require an awful lot of work because of the
Okay.
lay of the land, the can't. I mean, it would be immense amount of work. Immense amount of work brings immense amount of money.
Okay, yeah, I was afraid that was the answer,
Yeah.
but it's just, it sits there and grows grass. And I know especially even when all of our soccer fields are operational, we don't have even anything close to enough for SYA,
Right.
which is why I'm thinking that way.
I have two questions here. One is, how does that price change if we seed it?
So I had a contractor come out and give me a price. So we're looking at $150,000 to turn the field over and seed it. And that's just, let's call it the soccer area. So where the soccer field is and the soccer practice area, just that small section of land back there was $150,000, $160,000 to turn it over and seed it. I said, now give me another cost for sodding. And at $130,000 more, they would sod it. Almost the same amount of cost as to turn it over and seed it. So it's $160,000 to turn over and seed it, an additional $130,000 to sod it.
So basically what I'm hearing here is if, okay. All right, so this number here isn't it includes more than just the sodding, correct? And the turning,
It turns it over, it levels it, moves the softball field, it puts drainage in the varsity softball field, it puts sod on the newly turned over surface.
for 1,200,000, okay.
That's what we're estimating. Is
Yeah,
it?
this is what I'm not understanding, because you just said to me that
Excuse me.
it was $150,000 to seed it and turn it over, and it was another $150,000 to sod it instead. So you're talking about $300,000
Correct.
Out of that 1.2.
out of that 1.2. What's the
Correct.
rest of that 1.2?
Is there a way for you guys to provide a breakout of what that 1.2 is?
We can. We can.
So,
I can bring that to you next
No,
week.
no, and that's fine. I don't need that answer right now. My question is when you said it's a lot more money, what is it actually? Because if you said that this 1.2 was actually all the sodding work that would to be done, and seeding it is 500,000, that's a big difference than
yeah.
300 versus 150.
Yep.
It's still a lot more, but it's perspective. So that was my first question. So if you can get back to us with that breakdown of what that 1.265 is, that'd be great. Just so we can see how it kind of all plays out. My other question is in regards to, this is just for middle school athletic fields. Most of the fields that we're talking about right now are mostly in some form or another being used for gameplay, correct?
Correct.
Do we look at the fields that are for practice play only? And for instance, the pit. When was the last time we turned that over? And I understand it is a heavily used field.
So we didn't turn it, let's go back to and answer your direct question. It hasn't been turned over since I've been here. We did,
I know you did a lot of work to it to try.
I got to go back into my books and see if it was summer 24 or summer 23. I brought a contractor in to do a deep tine aeration.
Yeah.
So we didn't quite turn it over, but we shook the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Dug deep down in to
And it
loosen
worked.
it up, put sand in for better drainage, seeded it. Right. I couldn't get any work on it this summer because that field was used heavily during the spring, which it normally is not, was used heavily during the summer, which it normally is not. And then again, now you got high school on there. So next year I'm going to have to have a conversation. As we lead up to next year, I have a conversation with Sarah. Thank you. And limit the use of that field during spring and summer because that's when we predominantly do our work.
Makes sense to me.
Yes, sir.
Bill, what's you said 5 to 6 years the grass should be turned over.
Correct.
What's the maintenance plan on the sod then? If we would go that route, what does that look like?
I can't control what happened on grass fields before I got here and what kind of maintenance. We have a device called an aerator. So it's got very short tines on the back. It shakes up the first inch and a half layer of that of the current grass, almost like a core aerator you'll see on a golf course. I don't like core aerators because they leave that core behind and it becomes dead and just a mess, and you have holes and everything else. So this aerator is a very nice device. We try to get that on our grass fields every single year. But there comes time due to usage that we're not able to. Once we always use it in two different directions. We shake up the soil first, and we run it a second direction, and we drop seed when we go through the second time. We have the capacity to water. If we have a really dry, hot summer, we have the capacity to water our fields both at the high school and at the middle school from above ground. So we can maintain them. But to try to develop a plan where we can turn them over every 5 or 6 years to make them the way they should, a grass field should be for safety purposes, because we have no place to relocate teams, it becomes very difficult.
But I think to Chris's question was, you were asking more specifically, if you're supposed to turn over fields every 5 years, is that including if you sod them?
You could do it either way. And I'm talking when we turn over a field, you're rototilling that field deep to loosen up all those soils, leveling out all that soil, getting rid of any ups and downs that may have developed, and then choosing, if you have the place to relocate, seeding, obviously because of cost. If you don't have that option to relocate athletic teams, then sod, if you have the money.
So I got to follow up to that, or Sarah, did you have one? So if we're constantly not having space to be able to do that type of maintenance to them, where we don't have the extra fields, I mean, have you guys started to look at, is there a plan kind of like how Laura was alluding to, that grass field, maybe building in trying to come up with some type of new area where we have some land that we can basically build a new field, this way you actually have some capacity for rotating through.
So this is the point where Lynn would be looking at me and telling me, don't say a word, don't say a word.
Say a word. She's not here right now, so say a word.
So
There you go.
There's options out there.
Yeah.
Currently, we have a building sitting on a piece of property that could
Easy, Bill.
that could house a soccer field size field. The other option, of course, is everything that's grass, so majority grass behind middle school could become turf. So there's other options out there.
It's just building a new field, no matter how you cut it, it gets expensive because moving earth is not, as you said before, moving ground is not cheap.
I'm going to estimate, and this is top of my head, I could be way off base, but I think I'm going to be pretty close, is if we took a chunk of the middle school athletic fields behind the middle school, and we turned that chunk into, so we had an area large enough to put a football field on, soccer field, field hockey, and we turned that into turf. You're probably at today's rate looking at around $2 million to do that.
Yep.
That requires drainage and everything else, yeah. But we're not looking at 5 years down the road having to readdress grass. And this is the main reason we did the stadium field in the first place in 2008, was because of the heavy use. The crown had completely disappeared from the high school stadium. That needed to be brought back in. So we were looking at options. What's the best option at that point?
I think Bill's $2 million is very conservative.
It's conservative, but I think you're going to be close to that with today's money.
I know, I would say I would double that.
Yeah. I was thinking 3 million is where my head was.
But I think
It
for as
depends on the
much-
amenities you want. Am I putting bleachers in? Am I putting dugouts in?
Right.
It all depends on the scope, really.
But I
Those prices, we might do it ourselves here beyond the board. We just go out there and lay it ourselves.
But for as much as our fields are used, and I know for how much competition there is for turf time at the high school, like, it might be something we want to think about, not for next year, but for maybe 5 years from now when we have to think about doing this again.
Bill, what's the life cycle of the turf fields? Like, what's the typical before they have to be replaced again? I know
15 to 20 years for turf. And a lot of that depends on what grade you buy. Even turf field itself has several different grades. There are different companies out there producing similar product. So really, it relies on the quality that you spend on up front and your overall maintenance on the life of that field.
Okay.
How much of a field total price is material versus labor?
Boy, I'm almost going to say for the middle school work, it might be 50-50.
Okay.
Because it's a lot of imported material. I mean, I remember you were.
It is not an easy field to get to.
Right.
By truck.
You got a haul road you probably have to put in so we can get.
And if we have a wet summer, the wet year that we're doing that, getting a truck back there is not going to happen. Yeah.
Unless you build an actual.
Unless you build a road.
Now it'll be $80,000 to $100,000.
That's going to increase your cost.
I know. I built them. I feel your pain.
Anybody else have questions on turf or fields, just so we can keep the rest of the conversation going? Continue on, Bill.
Bill 2. Okay. Okay, so we're going to go into 2028. We kind of tone it down a little bit in 2028, and you'll see why in 2029. It's like upgrading hardware at the middle school, the elementary school, to match the electronic access control hardware that you're using at the high school currently, and also getting closed-circuit TV systems for all the buildings. 2029. Replace door and magnets for fire alarms at the elementary school. I think right now we've gotten to this point that hopefully it's just the doors. We're working on the magnets still to try to make them hang a little better. And then you see the big guy there, the high school HVAC. I've done HVAC projects similar to that. I'm going to warn you, it's not a summer project. I would typically, depending on the system you go with, it could be 2 summers, 3 summers possibly. I've done 55,000 square foot elementary schools where we did total systems, hot water plants, cold water plants, and then terminal devices everywhere. And those are a challenge to do in 1 summer. So when you look at the size of the high school, that's going to need some strategic planning money-wise to how do we do this? And, does it go from 29 into 30? Possibly into 31. That's a decision we have to make. And that's why we kind of left 28 a little bit skinnier. So, could we move some of that money into 28 and 29 and 30 and get it taken care of then? Strategies for that we could discuss when we get closer and you think you want to do them, like I would do plants first and then go out into the building and start looking at terminals, air handlers and DX units and how we want to attack that. And then in 2029, we're kind of getting down to some exterior lighting, interior lighting, and some additional asphalt repairs district-wide. So I usually try to keep you balanced across there, but you can see in 2028, we kind of had a little bit of a lull. But we're aiming to keep you a little bit under that $2 million that the APPA is recommending. And then the big guy in 29 for the high school.
So these numbers, the cost numbers that you have, are those prices they would cost today, or are you factoring in anticipated increases over time?
We do a 5% increase per year. So if you go back to like your tab 8s, Like, and you look at the high school's HVAC, it's only 10,457,000, or 10,457,000, and here it's 11.
Only.
Yeah.
Well, it's $1 million cheaper than.
Dawn,
Kind of gives you an idea what that inflation is actually doing. It's just creeping up and up and up on you.
Dawn, sorry, I just had a question. Dawn, when can we restructure debt again? I'm thinking.
That's going to be a while. What PFM proposed was those two borrowing scenarios because I believe it's like 2 or 3 years after the need to do the HVA system is when we have some debt that can be restructured, but nothing impactful even at that point. So that's why they did the two, full borrowing to do the project, or if we could allocate and fund some ourselves, what the two scenarios would be.
And then just a quick reminder, every one of these numbers does include contingencies, design fees, permitting. So we do have 30% on top just for any unforeseen and also your design and inspections and permits. So when you see the $39,000 to replace a couple doors, that's where some of it's coming from.
Is there any risk moving it up a year? Like, what's lost if you move it to 2028? Just the kind of the extra year of having the old system and the.
For the high school HVAC specifically,
Yeah.
There would be nothing wrong with moving it up, but I would almost like to split that number up into the 3 years is what I would. And we went back and forth on that, and I think Bill and I even had that conversation. Should we split it up, or should we just leave it? I think it's just a little less confusing when you see the 11 and you can see the math.
I appreciate that look at it. You see the whole number.
Right, I'm going to ask another dumb question. So if we split the work up over 3 years, do we split the payments up over 3 years also?
Yes, you could. And you could also make a decision on, am I going to do this as a phased project, or am I going to bid it chunks each year? So, kind of there's definite strategies I would use to do that. I could have them bid all 3 phases the first year. If I get great numbers, sign them up. If they're a little unfavorable, then we just take phase 1. And then it depends how you attack it. Like if I look at plants, if I look at hot water plant, then I can go in and do boilers, I can do pumps, I can do VFDs. Then I can look at chilled water plants, and I can do the plant. So, I'm going to have the heart done, and then I'm going to start spreading out into the extremities. And then
Then the lungs, then, yeah.
Yeah.
And if we do split it over 3 years, there's no real, so the students and the faculty in the building during the school year aren't going to know that our HVAC's under renovation.
That's my biggest concern is how do I get the doors back open at the end of August?
Right, with
I got
air conditioning on.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the only difference there will be the condition of the existing system. So you have the part of the building that's been replaced. You would imagine that it's working wonderfully. The part of the building that has the existing system may not necessarily be running to full efficiency or running well at that point. So they may feel a difference.
So for the lighting conversions, do we have an idea of how much that would save every year in energy costs?
At this meeting, no. Can we get that information to you?
It's not really that important, we're not even looking at it for 5. I'm just wondering if that is something worth bumping forward, if we're going to realize cost savings that help offset that cost.
That'll actually be coming up in a conversation we will have likely in October.
Okay.
We are speaking with another company on some energy-saving potential. And once we look at their proposal and with Tom's input, figure out if we want to bring that to the board or it's just a dead issue. If it's a dead issue with that route, then certainly we can look at what do the numbers look like if we did it as a one-time project and the payback. So
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Bill. Payback for LED conversion is usually in the 5-year mark.
Yeah. I would guess 3 to 5, depending on your actual utility costs at the time.
Okay, and would we replace the ceiling grids and tiles when we did that?
If you wanted to spend the extra money to do so, you could.
Okay.
That would have to come down to a decision when you look at the overall cost, this
Fair
versus that, or together.
Okay.
Is there any energy efficiency gained by switching out the HVAC unit other than it being just a new unit?
There's a lot of efficiency to be gained. Newer systems are just running better. They're running on less energy. Installing variable frequency drive instead of a motor that's running at 100% all the time, it will drive that thing down to run 30% when not as much as needed. So you get a great savings there. Less electric, less gas, depending on what time of year we're in. Yeah, a newer system will certainly drive up efficiency. No, we don't want to drive down. I was going to say drive down utility costs, but drive up efficiency.
All right, I think we're ready for the next slide. So what we did here is we kind of broke out the 2026 projects, and this is just like how we would strategize. We're trying to be economical. We're trying to be the most efficient. So we have the top one is yellow for the doors. That one we kind of just bid by itself. The green is pretty much all asphalt work, parking lots. So, I'd bid those all as one package, get the same guy doing them all. I don't see any problems with getting around the district and getting those done. And then in the orange, that's pretty much all concrete repairs, sidewalks, retaining walls, stairs. So those, I kind of want to group them together. And one, it makes it very attractive to contractors because they're seeing a bigger project that's going to keep them busy all summer. So, on pre-bid day, I just want a bunch of people in the chairs, and I want them all bidding these projects. Mm-hmm. So that's just how we would strategize bidding the projects. And you can also see, so 2026, we're kind of looking at 1.3 million. And then for 2027, we would do the chiller on its own, and we would do the athletic fields on there as a separate contract also.
Now, I'm going to jump in real quick on the high school chiller. So by life cycle of mechanical system, the high school chiller has gone beyond its proposed life cycle. It's running strong. We've put a little bit of time, a little bit of money into it over the last couple of years, but it's still running very strong and fairly efficiently. I'm trying, you may see this on next year, you might see it on the next year, you might see it on the next year. I'm trying to keep this thing running and push this out to when we do the entire high school HVAC so it gets done at the same time. So all systems will be the same age, all systems will be under the same bid. More likely, if we can attach it to that particular bid, get a better cost overall. So even though you see this on for next summer, or this summer and then next summer, you might see it get pushed back even more. I just want to leave it in front of you just in case it does fail and the cost to repair at that point becomes astronomical. I just wanted you to be aware of it.
Can I ask a question about the steps on the side of the admin building? So it sounds like we're not replacing them. Am I correct with
That's
that?
going to have to be part of the conversation between us and administration.
Okay.
Are they needed?
Well, and I guess I'm concerned actually about the wrestlers. It gets really icy. That's a very steep hill if you're walking down the pavement. And I'm concerned about all those little kids like slipping and sliding down the hill, when they're trying to go up. So my initial thought is we should put something else in, but I also have not thoroughly thought it through. Just something else I think, another group of people we do need to consider.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And
yeah. And the potential of the potential of taking out the concrete, and if you've seen the I'll call it the escape ramp from the high school cafeteria, going with a metal type surface, which is actually in ice and winter time, a little bit easier to maintain, and typically a little less costly to put in the concrete. So there's other options that we need to look at when we get to that point.
Ian recommends a gondola.
The gondola.
on a
As opposed to the T-bar?
Yeah, exactly. But But again, on a serious note, the youth wrestling program has been growing. It was at over 40 wrestlers last year. They're expecting to be over the 40 wrestlers this year.
Great.
So we're seeing actually an influx there. I was just talking to the director last night, actually. So they're expecting to see it. So as far as use goes, it's going to keep increasing at this point based
Great.
on what they're seeing.
Those are good numbers then.
And in our demo, if that stair does actually include like fencing or guardrails, because we're all creatures of habit. So if the stairs are missing, they're not going to be able to just walk down that hill. And we could easily do it as an alternate, is to replace the stairs, just, give the contractors details and see what the cost would be to just replace them and take care of it that way, whether it's with steel or concrete, however.
So, but again, it says replace concrete stairs and ramp at admin building.
It's the front entrance.
That's the front entrance, so there's nothing for the side one, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I think we're opening ourselves up there.
I'm sorry?
I think we're going to open ourselves, if we don't fix those, I think there might be an issue there. That's my that's my take. I mean, obviously, everyone else has to weigh in on it.
Okay.
So I guess this slide we just throw in, how do we fund these projects? There's definitely grant opportunities. There's the pay-as-you-go, you get the funds in the capital reserve and you just pay that way. Budgetary commitments, so maybe you spend a little bit less this year so you can spend more next. And then there's also the one none of us really like is debt borrowing. Just different ideas on how to plan financing. I'll be honest, Arif is probably better to talk to about financing than me, but he has strategies that he can definitely implement that would make it less painful. And grants, I think, are one of the biggest ways to actually relieve some of that. All right, then we just open it up for discussion.
If you haven't noticed, we kind of discuss as we go. So.
I figured that. I should throw that slide in the middle, and then we could.
Yeah, you put it in the beginning, so.
Yeah.
Anybody have any other questions? Thank you so much for coming out tonight and sharing this info with us.
We appreciate the opportunity.
Feel free to stay the rest of the evening and enjoy the rest of the meeting if you so desire, or...
I'll do it. No, thanks again, everyone.
Thanks.
Pleasure meeting you. All right. So you're
I'm going to walk them out real quick.
Okay, you walk them out?
And I'll be right back.
All right.
Yeah.
I guess we can move it. Yeah, that's what I said. We can skip ahead to item 2.3 for the Act 1 index update. Dawn, I believe, since that would be up to you. Or Kelly, whoever wants it.
Sorry.
We're moving to we're skipping to 2.3 to give Bill some time to.
Act 1. Yep, this is just informational for you all that it was published. It is 3.5% for this year. So that's where we fall right now. Next month, I'll be bringing a budgetary timeline to you all, and then we'll start talking about future plans or needs that we're considering, and that can give everybody an idea of start to think about tax increases. I do want to make everybody aware that we've already had another huge round of assessment appeals come in. It is the law firm that is going around again. This time they are working with Cedar Crest Boulevard, like industrial park, part of the hospital, their taxable office buildings. So we have over $50 million of properties that are coming up right now. So I'm a little bit concerned about where our assessments may come in at. We have been stagnant a little bit. We may be taking a dip this year on our assessments. So I'm just bringing this to everybody right now to have this in the back of everybody's mind when you all start thinking about what we're going to do with the budget and how we're going to plan and what the needs are. So that is all this is informational, that it was released. I'm sorry, I should have looked up what our aid ratio was. I did not pull that up, but I know we're under it. We don't ever qualify for the exceptions of it, nor would we want to go above that. We're always trying to stay at or under for our taxpayers, but.
How does the actual index compare to what the IFO predicted for this year last year?
3.5 to 3.5.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yep.
And what law firm is doing that? Do you know?
I will have to ask a friend who actually got the letter.
Be curious, yeah. And so they go around and
Basically, it's a letter that states that they have ways that they can save you money on your taxes, no cost to you. They kind of do it all up front. If they get an assessment appeal in your favor, there's a calculated percentage of the savings that you pay to them for what you save. And I'm not sure if it's over like 3 years that you have to give it to them, or it's a one chunk up front, but they basically ask for a percentage of what is saved.
yeah, I'd like everybody to know who's doing it. I'm just curious, so I think it'd be good.
Yeah, I definitely will ask her for a copy of the letter. So that's all that was, just to give everybody a heads up that it was issued, and that's where the rate's coming in for this year.
Thanks, Dawn.
All right, thank you, Dawn.
You're always the bearer of such good news.
I know, I hate it.
All right, since Bill's back, I guess we'll jump back to 2-2 and go from there.
I walked out, and I just wanted to give them a little bit of information. They'll provide us the breakdown for the middle school athletic fields like you requested. But I also told them, let's change their number. Let's reflect replacing of the steps down to the wrestling area. Nothing else, at least we know the worst-case scenario cost if we decide to go that route. So,
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yep.
So, Bill, I believe for item 2-2, you're actually looking for an informal approval to kind of give CHA the go-ahead to start working on the concrete work.
that is correct.
Why don't you go ahead and...
Let me reopen this. Back up. Right there.
Bill, we did bring the list up of all the items that
That's
they're
a
proposing.
long ways away from me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Bigger Bill.
And I've got it on my laptop in front of me, and I've still got it blown way up. So people behind me can see it very well, I'm sure. So yeah, what I'm looking for is the approval to talk to Dewey and say, let's start putting this what we're looking at for 2026 projects on paper. I want to get this out to vote as early as possible. It's just it's the same story. I come to you at September, October every year that if we're going to put something out to bid, I want to be the first one on the streets. Contractors are hungry, trying to secure work for next summer for their men, and the sooner we get there, the better off a better chance we have at numerous contractors at our bid meetings and numerous contractors bidding to start securing work. So I try to get out there early. Like I said, the one thing I'll have changed is these steps here at the admin building to go down for install, not just remove. So we'll change that number and we'll know worst case scenario. We will likely add. So the steps going down to the wrestling area are not perfect, but they're not unsafe. Right. And the one thing that concerns me the most is the handrail more than the steps themselves. Yeah. So when we build this bid, it will likely that will be an add alternate. So it won't be part of the base bid. We'll look at the base bid prices and say, okay, that's more than we expected, more than we have. And we're only going to do the base bid. We're not going to do the add alternate. So there may be a couple of projects that are listed here, the sidewalk and steps to the tennis courts. It's going to be an add alternate. They're not necessary. They've never had them. I think this is one of my things. I think it's a good thing to have, to go to that man door, but we've never had them, and we've lived very well without them. So that's going to be one of those other add alternates. If we have enough money, prices come in great, then we can certainly discuss adding that to the project list. We try not to do too many add alternates, and then because the contractors will say, you're going to give me, this is the amount of work, and we may not get all this, so their prices will adjust accordingly. But it's likely those two projects will be. I will talk about removing the stairs on the side of the C-pod at the elementary building. Those stairs and the walkways away from them steps have become unsafe to use. And they've been in that condition for quite some time. So working with the current building leadership and the previous building leadership, I said those doors that come off of those classrooms are out of use. Those stairs in that walkway are out of use because of their condition. So they are not being used, but they're sitting there getting worse and worse and worse. Ultimately, those steps would be completely removed. The doors coming out of those two seed pod classrooms would get blocked up. The doors would no longer exist. The flat-ish area, the landings at the bottom of the steps, would become a concrete patio. Obviously, a little bit of a retaining wall around that concrete patio because of the lay of the land, and likely turn that into an outdoor learning classroom. That's the plan. It's a nice shaded area throughout the entire day. With the faculty room and art room exterior door right there, there's quick entrance back into the building should any emergency arise.
That was my question. With the removal of that exit entrance, is there any safety concerns?
The safety concerns is that it exists.
I understand that.
No.
So take
No.
tripping and falling out of the mix, but is there, say another part of the building is in distress and they need to exit the building immediately?
There are no, you can look at, middle school has one classroom with an exterior door, and that's the old wood shop.
Okay.
The high school has no classrooms with exterior doors unless you count the art rooms, but they're exiting to the courtyard. And the courtyard's enclosed, so it's actually considered an interior space.
Okay.
So, yeah, and obviously the elementary building, those are the only two classrooms with exterior doors.
Okay.
Yeah. Middle school retaining wall. This is one of the, I don't know who built that. They did an amazing job. As old as that retaining wall is, and the handrails, the guardrails that are there, it has held up very, very well over the years. But it is starting to show its age. We do not need to replace the wall. Just do some repairs where the pipes are go into the guardrail. Replace that entire guardrail and make it ADA appropriate height for safety, and patch those portions of walls that are started to come apart. We might be able to save a little bit of money. I want to reassess with CHA, with the high school student parking lot and the van parking down below here at the elementary building. I don't believe we need to do a full milling and replacement. I think we can get away with seal coating those two. We'll save considerable money and lengthen the life of those two parking lots by 5 or 6 years just with a simple seal coat. So I want to reassess those two parking lots with CHA as we move forward. So just looking to put this in the hands of CHA so they can start putting things on paper with the hopes of getting out to bid sometime in late October.
Does anyone have any questions for Bill, or, maybe we can just go around and make sure everyone's on the same page for it?
May I add one thing before you all start? As you all remember, looking back at last year, we had a little over 500,000 of the concrete, with some changes of some items being needed to be moved up, and the asphalt, this has drastically changed. What I budgeted was 100,000 into the vehicle and equipment, and that's a standard build-in. I put 300,000 towards the towards the concrete, because I knew we were getting about 250,000, the remaining payment for the water remediation. We would be receiving it in this year. So I felt we had a 500,000 covered for that. So we're going up a little bit over that, but looking at everything that's being said regarding with the feds and the interest, we're not changing this year again. So I feel very confident that the difference that we have to do these needed items will be able to make up with the interest that we'll be earning this year. So I just wanted to add that in so you have that little perspective when you're thinking about it.
So one of the reasons for the big increase on this list compared to last year is when you look at the stadium steps, which we would turn into egress steps. If you look at those steps, obviously they're unusable, and that's why we need to replace them. They're a very narrow step. So if you're looking to egress your entire stadium of people down those very narrow steps, you're not getting them out. simply not getting them out. We've got to widen those, double, almost triple the width that they currently are, and reconfigure the fencing at the very bottom of those so that we have swinging gate doors for faster egress of potentially a stadium full of people. So that's where one of your big cost differences came from last year, is going from replacing the steps in kind to increasing the size of them.
And just a quick question. One or two of these items were moved up from 2027, correct? I'm not going crazy. I just can't remember which ones. But we were able to, I think we were able to shift up one or two based on grants. Do I have that right? On things we accomplished last year? And I don't need a direct answer, but I'll cross-reference. I'll do some homework, Bill.
Okay.
For the group.
I know we did move a few things forward, but I think we did skip the concrete. I think that was slated for this coming summer regardless. But we got grant money and we did a few things that were years after that. And we are going to be looking again to see what kind of items we can pick off of here too with some grants.
And Don, correct me if I'm wrong, there's bond money that's floating around. Can we use any of the bond money that's remaining for any of these?
Well, we're pretty much out of the bond money. That was the summer project presentation showing where we were redirecting the money that we got back from the water remediation. We still have not received the reimbursement yet for the fire alarm system. I do have to submit now that that's completed. So we'll have a little bit of that money to possibly shift into these items. So it was kind of moving bond money around that we had to use for the projects plus grant money that we had. So we're down to the very last little bit of the 2024 bond money. And I have to wait and see what the final bills are that we have regarding the library and fire alarm and see what we have left on that. But I believe we're pretty tapped out now with the bond money.
Yeah. So Mr. Vercabano was correct in that some of these projects move forward into 2026, move forward from 2027 into 2026. When you start looking at doing a certain project, and we can talk about pretty much any building aspect within the high school. If we wanted to do just a hot water boiler change out, are there other parts of that hot water boiler that may affect a new install? And even though they're only priority 3s or 2s, and they're much further down in the plan, you bring those forward all at the same time so you get a better pricing. So some of those projects in 2027, if you really look at all of those projects, you're going to see them with a lower priority than other projects that are currently on the list. But if we're doing concrete and asphalt, let's group it all together, and we'll get a better pricing than we would if we tried to just pick one at a time to do so.
Just for the record, the fire alarm was the 2028 project.
Yeah.
We were able to move up, so we did shift some things ahead, which is great. If my math is correct, just napkin math, about $1 million worth of things we got off the list. So
we had to move the middle school fire alarm system up. That system became obsolete faster than we expected, and parts were not available. It's not a part of your system that you want to go down and unrepairable.
And we did qualify for grant funding for that too, so that
helped move it along. Yeah.
Does anybody else have any other questions or concerns? Can we just kind of like go around the room and say if you agree or not agree?
Yeah.
I'm good.
You good?
Go forth, Bill.
I can do that. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time this evening.
All right. So that closes out 2-2. So the only other item that we had left was just, I believe this was a notification for information about the upcoming election for PSBA governing board. And it was an attachment with the folks that are running, correct?
Correct. And it's pretty much the same as last year. One person is running for one position. There's 2 open positions. 2 people are running. Our zone ran last year, so we won't have a zone for this year. We'll just have the president, the vice president. trying to think what else there is on there. Yeah, the advisory sections are not for us. We did that last year. And again, as you see, include 2 candidates, select 2 candidates. So we'll probably, if you all are okay, we will have a list with all of the individuals that are running. You can abstain if you want from any of those individuals. You do not have to vote yes for any of those, but we will put the full list on for the approval, and then you will vote or not on it then.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Is all you got for tonight, Tom, or anything?
All we have for this evening.
All right. All right, so we're a little over an hour in. Does anybody need a break? We're good to go? Keep moving on? All right, let's go. All right, let's move right into the finance portion of the evening, and Mr. Riccaboni.
Sure. Item 3.1 is an audit update, and we've had some requests for some information. Don can walk us through it.
Sure. This is one of many lists that come our way. We're about 90% of the items generated. I'll be working on uploading them tomorrow. This is the first big step on getting the audit going. They usually go through the review of these items pretty quickly. They'll send another list of requests, and then they'll schedule for the in-house. I am trying very, very hard, begging with them to try to have us complete it by the Thanksgiving break. That's the way it was when I was here before. We could leave and enjoy Thanksgiving and have a good idea where we fell for the year. So I'm aiming for that, but again, since we've only changed with them 2 years ago, we're still kind of on the bottom of the food chain. You move up in priority as you have more time with them and they bring clients on, but as they become more and more familiar with us and we become more familiar with their list, things go a lot quicker. But I just wanted to give everybody a heads up. We did officially start the audit. The wheels are rolling now, and we try to do everything as quick as possible, and we're all hands on deck when they come in, so they only have to spend a day or 2 here. We put everything aside and try to focus on that, and the goal is really trying to push for that before Thanksgiving. So that's just to show you the first list of items that they asked for.
Excellent. Any questions on that? And Don, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Last year was a little bit quicker than the year before, correct?
That's correct. The first year, they do a lot of research themselves. They do go through all of the prior auditors' audit work because they don't want to assume anything. You know, they want to make sure everything was done in compliance too before they even start theirs. So the first year with a new auditor is usually a lot more time invested from their end.
All right, if there's no questions, we'll move on to 3.2. There was a request for a comparison between Forecast 5 and the CSIU projections, 5-year projections. If you recall, I believe it was the August meeting, we talked about there's a quick voice vote to move to the CSIU projections because it saved about $18,000. And they produce about the same results, but there's a request to see what the difference was. So I'll turn it over to Don.
And I want to thank you for the eye test.
Yes, thank you.
I failed.
I was failing it, no matter how I tried. If you can open up the one that says presentation 810. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I had the same.
What I'm going to be showing is stuff that was mostly off of Laura's request, because behind the scenes, we look at everything, we see what's going on, but then when you guys are looking, things may not be looking, 100% like they're making sense, and I'm going to give a quick explanation of a few areas and a difference between Forecast 5 and CSIU, which really, really pushed us to want to go with CSIU. So, should I try to connect maybe, or? Okay.
There we go.
So the first one is the 5-year plan. There was a question regarding the federal revenue. Why on forecast 5 it shows 517,000, and on CSIU it shows 900 and something thousand. The reason for that is CSIU follows the compliance PD chart of account and reporting compliance. 517,000 is federal revenue. And if you remember off of that little budget review, federal revenues are coded as 8,000 functions. We get our IDA funds. They are federal funds, but they are pass-through funds through the IU. So they come to us through 6,000s, which are local revenue. So we have to record it as local, but then when we do the upload to the state, CSIU recognizes it in our financial reporting as federal funds that got passed through. So when CSIU reports it, they report it as exactly what we received. So we have $436,000 budgeted, and if you look in the budget book on page 6, you'll see IDA was budgeted at $436,109. And then if you look at the federal, the title was budgeted at $517,290. When you add both of those together, you get the $953,399. So there's some differences with where forecast 5 codes and where CSIU codes. CSIU codes follow the PDE chart of account and the state reporting requirements pretty much to the T. Where we record them is where they're going to be. So you may see some slight variances in some of the areas, but overall the total revenues equal. It's just where forecast 5 pulls it in and where CSIU pulls it in. But that's why you see that big difference. So that was to answer the question on why we have that difference in the federal. So if you go to the next slide. This is the year-end projection that we were doing all year long in forecast 5, and you'll see where the arrow is. Laura brought up that from May, I believe it was May's and June's, there was that $2 million difference. If you can see across there, those are our 800 and 900 objects. Those are our payments for our bond payments and interest payments. So that's where you see those items. We were doing forecast 5 all year long, so the way this is reported is correct. Now, if you go to the next slide, we kind of jumped into CSIU and we're populating, and we could see there was some variances from month to month where things were recorded, but overall, most of it fell in line. We could not figure out why nothing was pulling through in the fund transfers and the other uses. So we had to put a help ticket into CSIU, and I believe it was for June that I brought this to you to show and say we would like to move. CSIU went through all of our accounts, added everything up, and they plugged that amount till they could figure out. They plugged it in June. So this is what the report looked like, how we had it when I brought it to you all. If you go to the next slide now, this is after they found there was a link in our software that their coders had to fix. It populated everything where it was supposed to be. Everything ties out. Now, the second part is if you look at this part report and you compare it to the forecast 5, you'll see from months to months there's variations. And we were trying to figure out what was happening, and we were rerunning reports. We found out that every month when we run the download and we send it to forecast 5 and we upload it, it becomes frozen in time. What happened stays in that month. So 2 months from now, we may have to void a check from 2 months ago and reissue it. CSIU makes that whole correction. They go back, they put that revenue back in the month that it was, take it out in the month that we're reissuing it. So they keep everything real time. So when we do the CSIU, every month, it populates every month. If we would want to stay with forecast 5, we would have to rerun July, Then when we wanted to do August, we'd have to rerun July, then rerun August. And we would have to upload, save the report, upload the next month, save the report. We found out that that's what happens because we're sending it to an external source and everything gets frozen right at that time. CSIU is pulling right out of our system exactly what we're doing. There's also a difference between how they handle encumbrances too. So in CSIU, they treat that as a full expense. They will take it out of your cash and they'll put it into the expenditure. If we would liquidate that PO and the expense didn't happen, that would get immediately reversed. It doesn't change it unless we rerun those months and re-upload them in Forecast 5. So this is why you're seeing all these differences. We literally were working month by month by month and trying to see where the differences were. And
can I just ask a question just to make sure I'm totally understanding
Sure.
this? So in the future, when we're using CSIO, so let's say you do a forecast for the end of the year in February, and then you do another one in March.
Yep.
It's possible some of the month-to-months will change from one report to the next as things kind of
yes,
get
because
bumpy.
as we do them, you'll see it as forecast, and then when we do the actual, like the next month, the month before becomes your actuals.
No, I'm saying like in your case, the case where you were talking about like having to cancel a check and reissuing it. So if there was a check in January that hadn't got canceled for the February one, but then got canceled by the March one,
Yep.
the January number would reflect, it would be
Yep.
slightly different between the two.
The actual would actually become the actual. So if
Yeah.
we went back and we wanted to run just January 1st through January 31st and look at all the expenditures, it would equal. But Forecast 5 wouldn't. It would equal at that point in time that we ran it and gave it to them. So when we would change the heading, when we populate the actual, everything would be exactly what happened that month. And then the other months would be the forecasted. So every month when we put in the actuals, then you're seeing what actually happened. And there can be a time that 3 months from now, something happens where, because we only give like 90 days and then we follow up on the checks, you may see that there might be a change back from 3 months ago. So we are going to have that little variance, but it's going to be actual real time at the time that we populated the month end. So everything prior that will match. And it is definitely a lot easier to use. I'm hearing from Joanne. She's very, very happy. We're going to start really digging into the 5-year plan too, because there's a lot of assumptions that go on behind that. We want to fine tune that, especially with the salaries. We kind of did flatline, averages. We want to try to take each contract, move the people, see what the true increases are, and build actual dollars instead of percentages, so we can start to fine tune those 5-year plan a little bit better. And we'll be digging around a little more. We have some requests to find out what other kind of things we can do, if there's ways to play around with the models, because I know there's been some requests regarding looking at different scenarios. Right now, we literally, from our understanding, we have to kind of rebuild and do the whole things over. But if CSIU can help us figure this out, so we have some trainings coming up, some more. We're just really scratching the surface right now. It was just excited to find out that we could do this in something we already pay for. So that's where we're at right now.
All right. Sorry.
Oh, that's wonderful. Any further questions? I appreciate, Dawn, you looking into that. I mean, that covers like at least 3/4 of one of the concrete projects. So it's, I mean, it's real though. If we keep finding those little pockets, they'll add up to.
I was very proud of myself with the budget, feeling like I had our summer projects covered, and then we saw this and I went, oh. And then I started looking, where can we make the money? Where can we make the money? And I started reading some of the reports from the feds, and we're going to be staying trending like this. So I feel very confident we're going to be able to cover all that expenditure and do much needed things, more so than what we had anticipated.
All right. So with that, any old business? All right. Our next meeting is October 8th. That's our next Ops and Finance meeting. And with that, we're adjourned.